We've got Michael Wilson for Global Business Updates. He joins us from London. Great to have you, Michael Wilson. Good morning.
Good morning. Asia Pacific markets fairly mixed this morning, given not much happening on Wall Street yesterday. Hong Kong's Hang Seng rose very, very slightly indeed. There was a bit of debate about Tencent selling off some of Meituan, which these are both trading sites, shopping sites, and so on. But both of those, they denied that, and they ended up slightly higher. Nikkei increased by about 0.5%. Japan's July headline inflation risen to 2.6% from 2.4% in July. Given that their target is 2%, I suspect, given also the way that inflation is happening around the world, they won't be too upset by that. China's heat wave, we talked a bit about that yesterday, Rotus and I did at least. It could have a knock-on effect for the economy, particularly in the southwest. It's quite a dire situation, apparently, and analysts say it could last for 2 to 3 months. It's affecting big energy-intensive industries, and it will have a knock-on effect through the economy and, of course, through the global supply chains as well. And consumer confidence within China continues to be hit by the threat of getting caught up in a lockdown. People are sort of ought to be travelling internally, but some of them are not because they're worried about being stuck with a lockdown. As far as the United States is concerned, stock futures flat. Basically, they're trying to have a sort of straight winning week, but not hugely applicable to what's actually going on as far as the markets are concerned. A little bit rise in all of them. It was only the Nasdaq down about 0.5%. I think much more important is the fact that hedge funds on Wall Street are apparently sitting on a record level of bearish bets on the stock market now. That isn't to say they're not simply hedging their positions, but there are a lot of people thinking that they're slightly worried about this big rally that we've seen and are betting on a bear market. These figures from BNP Paribas, shorting the S&P is a common thing to do, but actually people are saying it's not just a hedge, but it actually is a feeling that the markets they're kind of quite bearish featuring of the markets. Now, who wouldn't want to be a fly on the wall at the G20 summit when China and Russia apparently, according to the hosts, which is Indonesia, are actually going to attend the G20. The Indonesian leader, Joko Widodo, said that despite growing tensions over Taiwan and Ukraine, and it is very likely that these two will actually attend the G20 summit, which is in November in Bali, and it may be that there is a face-to-face meeting between them. Here's something from the Middle East. This is quite a windfall, actually. It's reckoned that the next 4 months will see, the next 4 years rather, will see a $1.3 trillion windfall to the Middle Eastern states. It'll add to their firepower of sovereign wealth funds. The biggest ones are in Saudi, the Public Investment Fund. Qatar has the Investment Authority, and Abu Dhabi has what's described as a stable of funds there. But it's likely that they will be getting a huge amount as a result of the rising price of oil. Turkey once again going against the flow, shocking the markets with a rate cut despite inflation of somewhere near 80%. Its main policy rate, which had been at 14% for the past few months, was cut to 13%, completely against how people actually think you ought to deal with inflation, i.e. rising interest rates. I say inflation about 80% there. And also Turkey's made a big show of diplomatic overtures to several oil-rich Gulf states. It's also been quite enthusiastic about Russia as well, despite despite Western trade sanctions and so on. So they're clearly positioning themselves somewhere where it is, don't know. Surprise result for UK retail sales. Online was slightly up last month. It was expected to be down, but this is not people going into shops, and this is nothing about big ticket items either. But nevertheless, retail sales volumes were up for July. Government borrowing $3 billion higher than expected. UK consumer confidence hits a record low. The households in particular are being completely pessimistic about the way things are going right now, and they're feeling that in as much as they know anything, that interest rates the next time that they will be rising will be in September and could be as much as 0.75%. And finally, as far as natural gas is concerned, we've seen huge increases in the price of that. According to energy analysts in London, obviously a lot depends on the weather and geopolitical moves and so on, but it's very, very difficult to predict how high the price is going to go. The price mechanisms are not, the market itself isn't very transparent, and it's fairly clear that every user is now being competitive with each other. It may be that what happens in Germany over the summer may help to give space in their storage bank, or that they may bring more gas in, but there's particularly strong competition from Asia for gas, and so no limit to price rises there. That's the global view.
Right. Michael, what is the UK doing to, hedge against this skill shortage? Because there are complaints of an impending skill shortage. And also, when you talked about the rate of online shopping going up, it's simply because a lot of people are taking out more debt, probably for credit card, for online shopping. So most of that is not real money. It's also the credit card debt that's on the increase in the UK now. And that is bubbling up.
I think you're right. I think that is a big danger. People are still in this kind of want it now mood, aren't they? And they see something online and they think, right, I'll have that now. And it may be on a credit card rather than a debit card. I mean, who's to know? We will get figures about that sort of lending. But I think you're absolutely right to pinpoint that. It really is a weakness as far as the economy is concerned. And people are, unfortunately, still in the kind of mindset that says I want it now. I don't care about I've got to pay for it over a few months, and there are plenty of opportunities to do that. I saw something retailing for about £4 the other day, and there was the opportunity to pay that back over 3 months. I mean, why would you? It does seem as though it's absolutely crazy. So I feel as though there is a mindset of wanting it now and paying for it later, and I suspect that goes right back to the advent of credit cards. However long ago was it? What was it? 1971, the first one in this country, I think.
Well, two quick things, Michael, if you're still with us. The American Chamber of Commerce in Taiwan is saying that the tension between China and Taiwan, all the showboating in the Taiwan Strait is not affecting businesses in Taiwan, and that is members, about 829 of them. They are in a very good place. But meanwhile, the U.S. has now announced former bilateral talks with Taiwan, to start by next year to look at digital trade and a number of other issues. Isn't that provocative? Would that now lead to a situation where you find a deepening of tension between China and Taiwan, with implications for the supply chain process in the Taiwan Strait? That's one. The second one has to do with the Office for Budget Responsibility and the Institute for Fiscal Studies, IFS, in the UK, saying that, look, Conservative Party leaders, Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, both talking about tax cuts, making very unrealistic proposals. Even if Rishi Sunak says, well, he has been vindicated, and on the other side, we've not had very concrete response from Liz Truss, Foreign Secretary, who has been talking about a headroom of about £30 billion. And now you have the Office for Budget Responsibility and the IFS saying, well, given looming recession, contraction within the economy, that's unrealistic. Are we likely to see Liz Truss, backtracking on this particular proposal?
I think I'd take you back to, we were talking about this yesterday as well, to take you back to what Margaret Thatcher said. She said, it's not quite true, but what she said was the government has no money of its own. And I mean, in a sense, it doesn't, does it? Because any money that any government has is either invested in them or or is actually raised through taxes. So tax cuts, yes, I feel as though they sound very much like jam today. I don't necessarily approve of them. I mean, they're very welcome, obviously, but I don't necessarily approve of them. I don't see why our children and grandchildren should have to pay for the mistakes that we are making right now. I think that's and the IFS, as the Institute of Fiscal Studies, it's quite a well-respected economic think tank, and it's done its calculations, and it says neither of these things is actually doable. I mean, it is in the short term, but in the long term, it reduces the perception of the UK economy worldwide. And it's beginning to happen right now. I mean, sterling is weakening. You're beginning to see this now. Be interested to see how either of them would actually cope with that. In terms of Taiwan, I'm with you. Yes, I think it is provocative. We know why the United States is doing this. It should be said, though, that China needs to be very careful with Taiwan, because it does still get a lot of its semiconductors from Taiwan, the home of the biggest producer of semiconductors in the world, and I feel as though China is making its onshoring and its friendshoring a little bigger as far as semiconductors are concerned, but it still will have to face those problems. So it's a very, very delicate balance. But I feel as though I have to say I thought the Nancy Pelosi visit was provocative. And I think also that this is too. I'm not quite with the Chamber of Commerce there. I mean, if they were to look back to what their voters actually stand for, some are actually quite happy about the fuzzy relationship that Taiwan has with China. If you look back to the way they voted the last time they did vote, a large proportion, something like 46%, said they were perfectly happy to merge with China, again, to come under China's umbrella. So it's very, very difficult to know what to think about that. But it's a big geopolitical issue. But I think in the end, trade will say it one way or the other.